right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This is Solemn Prophet. For those of you guys who know me, I'm Brother Akeem as well. And this is a blend, a hybrid of Shabbat Talk, which is on Truth Talk Radio, my platform, as well as on the seven Trumpets Prepper channel as well. We're going to do a little collab today. But primarily today is going to be a presentation from him about as the days of Noah. But just real quick, I do got to give my brother his flowers before I bring him up here. This brother is A1, one of the most humble brothers, and I tell him this all the time. And he's not great at taking compliments, right? He appreciates it, but he don't know what to do with it. It's like a hot coal. I toss to him, he just over here all over the place, right? But man, this brother's so amazing, so humble. I appreciate his scholarship. I appreciate anybody who diligently searches the scriptures to get closer to Elohim. But this brother has done so much for not only myself, my family, just been a true brother through and throughout it. I appreciate all of the work that he's done in ministry and everything that he's done. Man, I can't thank him enough, but I want to bring him up here. This is our special guest for tonight, my brother Lucas, Seven Trumpets Prepper.
I appreciate that, brother. Much love to you.
All right. Absolutely, man. And I appreciate you for doing this. I appreciate you for being diligent and taking the time to get home. For those of you guys who don't know, with this brother, he had to climb 6 mountains, cross 3 rivers to make it back on time for this live stream.
That's right. We're going to keep our word.
I do appreciate him. And also just something that a lot of people don't even think about, but I wanted to really take a moment to, because a lot of people, they know you because they watch your content. Not a lot of them necessarily know you personally, right? I've been blessed to meet you in person. It was great. We fellowshipped on several occasions. But the people who normally is on my panel, who come and we fellowship together, some of them may have never spoken to you, may never, they've probably just been in your inbox or your comment section. So that's why I wanted to open it up for my people to be on the panel. And we'll have some time later on to kind of just open it up for questions, or if anybody just want to say hello to you, you kind of like the celebrity of the group right here. You know what I mean? Not from an idolatry perspective, obviously.
Right,
but
right.
Just, we appreciate all your work, brother. We do. We appreciate it.
That. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'd love to talk to some people. And I'm about 3 months behind on emails constantly to, communicate with people. And I always have to start them out apologizing because somebody's wrote me something like 3 months ago. And there's this brother in Australia. He wrote me and I wrote him back and I went like line for line, every question that he asked, got him the references and everything. And he told me, he's like, I appreciate you. He's like, it's no worries. I totally understand. I'm like, we're going to get to you. Customer service is just slow because I am the customer service department.
Absolutely. My normal co-host, we call him Professor S, Brother Joel. We were having a conversation some years back and he goes, "Oh, Seven Trumpets Prepper, that's Brother Lucas. Oh yeah, I know him." I said, like, you know him, like personally know him? And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh man, you got to make the introduction. And he did, and it's been history ever since.
That's right. Right.
It's definitely been history ever since. So Shabbat Shalom to everyone in the comment section. I like to give shout outs to everybody, but there's so many people in here. But quickly, Nicholas, Jewel, Ava, Sandra, Marianne, David, Calvin, Cindy, Tim, Bernadette, everybody, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for joining us. And I appreciate that, sister. I do. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thank you.
Yeah. Much love to everybody in here on both platforms. Love everybody and hope we have a good conversation tonight. I'm really excited about it.
Absolutely. Sister Christine, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for being in here. Well, brother, we are in the days of Noah. We are in the days of Noah, and you got some really good information to share with us today. So let me pull that on up.
Let's see.
And you let me know when you're ready to go. I'll get the slides pulled up for you.
Well, let me see if you Will it unlock over here? Because I was going to say I can click it up over here on the present tab. I've got it queued up over here.
Yeah, I can pull it to the stage whenever you're ready.
Okay. I got you, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry. Well, to just lay a premise before we get started, why this is so paramount is because Messiah said that before his coming, and we're going to look at the slides, the scripture and everything, but I'm just summarizing this real quickly to cement this in and lay a foundation for tonight, is that as of the days of Noah, so shall come the Son of Man be. And if we can use that as a foundation and a solid point of reference to go off of, then we know what to look for in our generation. And so what I'm trying to do tonight is build a sandwich. So the top piece of bread is important and the bottom piece of bread is important. The stuff in between, we can kind of theorize, we can kind of let our imaginations run wild, because in the end, when the new kingdom comes, everything's going to be laid bare. We're going to know everything we've been lied to. We're going to know everything that was, twisted up. But in the meantime, there is things that need to be absolutely, factually, 100% sound doctrine that we go off of and know. Okay. Just like whether it be, do we live on a geostationary flat earth under a firmament dome, or do we live on a spinning ball? That's really important to know because of the deceptions in the last days, because of, demons posing as aliens, fallen angels. Who is the true Hebrew Israelites descendants? Because prophecy surrounds these people. Not only that, we should love the Father's people and be good to them because they're the apple of his eye. Those that bless the seed of Abraham will be blessed. Those that don't will be cursed. I mean, what's another one? Keeping of the commandments. It's obvious those that have the right to treat life and enter in are those that have faith in Messiah and the keeping of the commandments. So there's like a lot of important things that are foundational pillars. And there's a lot of things that are, can be discussed and debated and etc. But there's certain things that's absolutely paramount. And so, as of the days of Noah is absolutely paramount. And especially if a person says, well, I believe we're in that hour, then it's absolutely paramount in the hour that we live in that we get it right, because everything hinges on that. And hey, afternoon, Brother Joel. I love you, bro.
I love you too.
Man, I hope you and Brother Akeem just tear in on this tonight, because I was putting the slides together for this, and I told Akeem if I was left unchecked, we'd had like 200 slides tonight, because when it's biblical archaeology or like Indiana Jones world, I just lose it. And like I've just went full in on this with the days of Noah. So Akeem, if you want to put the first slide up, I'll start going through this, laying the foundation. So the first part of this presentation, like I said, I just want to lay the foundation of what we're looking for, because then on the back end of things, we should be able to see a mirror. And in the middle of this presentation, I'm going to show you just how that a lot of things are so twisted up that we can look back and see how twisted it is. So it's obvious how much manipulation that we're dealing with. So we really need to use scripture and history that we know of biblically, especially biblical archaeology, to confirm where we're at with all this. So to begin with, it says in Matthew 24:37, one of the first points we need to go off of is, as it was in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. That's Matthew 24:37. If you want to go to the next slide, brother. And, or actually, will it let me? Oh, okay. It'll let me click forward. I got it now. So in Noah's day, he was righteous. He was a just and perfect in his generations. Literal, his blood was not corrupted, right? So this man was righteous. And in our last day that we're living in right now, stuff that I can't speak about, but if you live between 2019 to 2024, there was things being done to people's DNA. We're going to cover this further into this. I'm going to have to speak in parables. I don't want this content taken down. So we are witnessing that for the first time again in millennia. Like we've not seen this in, like generations, in millennia, that we have seen just now take place in our generation, in the last generation. I fully am convicted we're living in the last generation. Like I'm not even thinking a 10-year plan beyond right now. Like I'm enjoying today with my family, because I don't even have a vision past the next 10 years. That's how close I feel personally things are. I don't even feel like we got 5 years, but I don't want to put anybody in panic mode. Hey, I love everybody. I'm here. I'm here to bring joy to everybody. I love spending time with everybody. But Luke, I just want you to know, this is my public service announcement. I am mentally checked out on like this world we're living in right now, in the new world order that we're suffering in. Okay. So knowing that we deal with the same repeat of Noah's day, we know that, wickedness is on a broad scale, and we'll see this. We'll see that, how that a lot of us feel like we're an island right now, just because of what we believe, not because you've done anything else in your life, just other than what you believe. You're so far separated from most of the world. Well, that's, pretty much a repeat of Noah's day. And it says that one of the other marker points, and I went off the KJV Bible, okay, and I went off the 66 books exclusive, because I don't want nobody to be like, well, that was the book of Yasher, or that was the book of Hanok. Yes, there is a lot of meat to help further support what we're reading tonight, but
absolutely,
I did off the 66 books, because you can still get to the finish line with this information right here alone. And guys, you can interrupt me at any point in time if you just want to share something on this. I literally geared this because I wanted you all to let me know your thoughts and opinions on this as we go on through. The sons of Elohim saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took as wives whomever they chose. This is Genesis 6:2. Anybody reads the book of Hanok and the book of Yasher, you will get a knee-deep understanding of how deep this went. But because of the fallen, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the fallen was present and their seed. Okay, this is a issue that is very important to understand in the last generation. Okay, we have something that is not of intention that the Most High created, right? This was a mingling of something that was never supposed to be. And because of that taking place, we have another marker point that the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and afterwards as well, when the sons of Elohim had relations with the daughters of men, and they bore them children who became the mighty men of old, men of renown. That's Genesis 6:4. So we have giants. So in the last days, basing up off this theory, as of the days of Noah, so shall the coming Son of Man be. And the last days, we should have these evidences as well. We should literally be able to physically, tangibly see this type of stuff in the last days. Okay? So moving on. And look, I know this stuff, a lot of people have been so subcultured that, they're like, oh, this is like Lord of the Rings. This is crazy. But folks, this is reality. Like, I'm even going to show you, like, this did physically take place in the past. Okay. So the past is always indicative of the future, right? So these things need to be, wrote on the heart. Okay. And then it goes even further. And Elohim looked up on the earth and saw that it was corrupt, for all living creatures on the earth had corrupted their ways. Genesis 6:12. Now, if you open this up to interpretation for a minute, and I don't want to add to or take away from the word, but just like scholars sitting in the room with me would attest to this, for those that's read Yasher, those that's read Hanok, and I believe it might be touched on in Jubilees, but I don't really lean on Jubilees, is that if you look at it, that it goes into depth that the fallen angels corrupted the creatures of the earth, the people of the earth, like they went wild. Okay. And now the depth of the Hebraic text and how you interpret it, you could really go layers deep on that onion. But the case is that what the initial design was corrupted deeply. To the point where that you're doing like a full firmware reload on the whole computer drive. I mean, like, this had to do a whole system reboot at this point on the world. It got so bad.
Yeah,
okay?
I like the way the KJV verse describes it, where it says all flesh was corrupted. When you think of it like from that perspective, you can easily understand it from a DNA genetic standpoint. All flesh was corrupted.
Absolutely. 100, brother. 100. And this is so important to understand, because now from the time I was a young man in middle school up to where we are now, I have watched so much about DNA marking, DNA sequencing, DNA logging, DNA editing. Like, I mean, like I literally just a couple years ago seen where that they were editing cancer out of somebody, put the DNA back in them, and then the cancer disappeared. Like there is a lot of tweaking that is going on, not to mention the Neuralink thing I seen the other day, where one of the recipients of the Neuralink was explaining that they're at the point now where they don't even need to click a mouse, that they can look at the computer and go ahead and click the mouse on the screen, you know, wirelessly. Like, it's getting wild out here. Okay. And please keep in mind that that's also not only neural editing, but, you know, also changing your body. So, and it's clear, we really need to make a clear division of this too, because like, you know, a lot of people's like, well, I don't believe that dragons actually existed, but yet it describes dragons existing. Like the Chinese calendar, it's the only animal on there that we're like, well, that don't exist, but all the rest of them do. Like, why would they put that on there if that didn't exist? And you know, you look at you look at the behemoth being described, and I think this is where people have a confusion between the things that were made that people would describe as a dinosaur, and now I want everybody to understand for a minute that I'm leaving from foundational things to theory for a minute, because you will see where this all makes a big circle in the end, is because the Darwinism and, you know, the dinosaur teachings in school and the Big Bang and all this, it is to dilute truths that are present. And I'll give you, I just wanted to use this one for example. If you look at the scripture in Job, it says, take a look at behemoth, which I made just as I made you. It eats grass like a lion. So see its powerful, see its powerful loins and the muscles of its belly. It is tall, is as strong as a cedar. The sinews of its thighs are knit tightly together. That's Job 40:15-17. So when I read this, I'm like, man, that sounds like what they describe as a brachiosaurus. But when you read the scripture, it's more of behemoth. And I wanted to show you, this is a 14th century painting of what you would look at and be like, man, that's a brachiosaurus. But they did not treat that like a dinosaur. They treated that just like a camel. And this is a painting of a 14th century battle that took place. Anyway, and the reason I show this example is just because that we do not see certain creatures in our generation doesn't mean they didn't exist. And it also is important that we delineate that just because certain things existed in the past and now they tell us it's a different variation or it's this or that, that's no different than the fallen angels taking something that was existent and twisting it up and making it a monstrosity of something else, or into something else that's a monstrosity. And I have examples of that to show you right now in the last days that we're experiencing that. There's like a zebra mixed with a donkey mixed with like a tiger stripes, and I don't know, it's got all sorts of DNA mixed in, and it's an actual living creature right now, and they're doing all sorts of DNA editing to it. But I just want to show everyone that these things that seem so far-fetched in the past are very much a clear reality, even present today. And so when you think about, like, you know, how that the creatures were corrupted, just keep in mind that the fallen angel technology is incredible. And I did borrow this one scripture from Hanak. So anybody that has an issue with the book of Hanak, they're just going to have to I'm going to have to take an L on this one, because this goes into a lot of detail as to just how much the fallen angels did give knowledge to man. And this is just a drip. I just took like literally one verse of one chapter. And it says, and Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, and breastplates, revealed them to the metals of the earth. And not only did he show them the metals of the earth, so just imagine the periodic table got laid out in front of everybody here. And then the guy's like, okay, so this is brass. And so like, this is mercury. This is Hg that we would see on the periodic table. This is how to do this with this. This is this chemical element. You mix it with this, it makes this. So just imagine these fallen angels teaching mankind like as if you just went to the schoolhouse. And as well, how to make bracelets, ornaments, the use of antimony, beautifying the eyelids. So, you know, there's the your Ulta Beauty supply for ladies today. And along with all kinds of precious stones and various dyes. So, I mean, these angels taught mankind how to get to where they are. Like it blows my mind how much people's like, well, how did they have all this technology back in the day? Well, it's pretty easy to have all this whenever those that had the technology just stop by and download it to you. I mean, like that would be like me doing off-grid construction for years, and I took Joel with me for a very short time, and he can install an off-grid system, no question asked. I would walk away and fully feel confident he would do a good job. But I downloaded that information right over to him, and now it's like that. And we did a job, what, Joel, in 2 days one time together not long ago?
Yeah.
I mean, it was
like 2 days.
So to think that mankind couldn't receive this knowledge from the fallen angels and apply it is that would be a very foolish thought and an oversight on our part in the last days.
Absolutely.
Sorry, guys, I had to wet the whistle there.
You're good, brother. I got to tell you, man, I am getting so much. I'm getting so much Rob Skiba vibes right now.
Oh, I love it.
The spirit of Rob Skiba, man, is definitely evident. Especially when you were talking about Behemoth and you had the pictures up there, it felt like I was watching the Archon invasion all over again.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Boy, I hope Brother Rob has a massive reward in the new kingdom. I mean, that brother put in the work. He absolutely, and I'm so proud of his son, man. His son's just Jeremiah's just hammered down right behind him.
Yep.
So when we look at ancient technology, you know, like they would call this like the antique Ethereum, and you know, like everything from celestial technology to my field of things that I love to tinker in, which is, you know, the electrical world, is that what you're seeing there is actually a plasma weapon. They have said that that's pretty much an ancient plasma weapon, because you got to understand that one of the elements that's not shown on the elemental chart anymore is ether. And we know just from Nikola Tesla that, you know, the ether he pulled power out of the ether to power a vehicle in the 1800s to go like, I think 80 mile an hour down the road, and it didn't have nothing in it. You know, it just had the antenna. Like, I know it's really weird for us to look at these things and think that too, but I just want to show you the level of depth that the fallen angels had back then, because people that see direct energy weapons now and drones and all the weapons of today, this is not like a new thing. This is in antiquity. And not only that, but the fallen angels that was around at that time, watching them use these weapons, people thought these entities were deities. Like, they deified them because that they were powerful. And then not only that, they had all this technology and how to apply it. So, I mean, if you're a guy standing out there in the desert not knowing what's up, and you see a dude shooting looks like lightning bolts with something in his hand, you're going to be like, dude, this dude is a deity. Father, please forgive me. I don't mean to blaspheme, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, this would be the thought that would probably pop up in a person's mind due to ignorance. But for us, looking backwards on this, when you see this, and especially just like in the Apocalypse of Abraham, that one of the angelic beings that spoke with Abraham was blue. It literally said that his skin tone was of a bluish color, like sapphire. And when you think about that, okay, well then in Indian culture,
in India, yeah, I was about to say,
yeah. Yep. So this particular fallen angel that had these plasma weapons and the technology, you know, of course, is at that point then deified. Well, when you look at these things, and this was and I don't mean to go into other religions, but I just want you to understand that all these fallen angels and all these religions of the world and stuff, they all stem back, you know, to far beyond even the Tower of Babel. They stem all the way back to Noah's day, because this stuff was present. Like I said, this is like stuff out of like Lord of the Rings and subculture out here in pop culture. I mean, like right here, they said that this was a thunderbolt blaze like a meteor fireball across the heavens, and they've been, you know, documentary explanations and stuff in the past, how that the metallurgy and the elemental mixes and certain things, they were able to receive a charge from the ether and then be redirected from it. So it's like putting a Milwaukee battery in your drill and then pulling the trigger, and then that energy is put into putting the screw into the wall. It's the same principle. I know it looks really like sci-fi and outlandish, but this is like kind of the type of stuff that they say was dealt with, way back when. And when we think about that and we really amplify that to the amount of wickedness that was in Noah's day, the murder, the giants plundering the earth, like you go out to Devil's Tower in Wyoming, and they've showed seismic study underneath there where that it's actually a huge tree, and that's the stump and the root is under the ground. Like they've done these scans. And when you see all these ancient trees, and I mean, for crying out loud, there's one out there, I think, like New Mexico, that it looks like there is a axe still laying on top of the stump, just like I'd go out here and cut firewood and then leave the axe laying on top. Have y'all guys seen that? Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, does that not look? Am I seeing things, or does that not look like what that looks like? And so this is when you see it on that level, and you think to yourself, okay, so humanity was corrupted. Giants have used up the resources on Earth. Now many of them have deified themselves and the mighty men of renown of old. So you have your Greek pantheon, your Roman pantheon, and all this stuff that's floated, a Babylonian pantheon of deities, and all the stuff that's made its way through the generations, and then of course gained its different edits with the regions in which these people dwelt, and etc. You see now why the flood was so immense, because all that mess had to be wiped away. Just absolutely wipe the slate clean. Now, I know that was a very long-winded input on that, but when you think about that now moving forward in relation to today, you look at I can't remember if this is in Khufu. I used to have this in my office at the house, Joe. They tried to downplay these flying devices here. And the Ankh in ancient Egypt, once again, a mixture of metallurgy with like mercury, brass, copper, a couple other things, interaction, would actually light up in the hallways of the buildings. And it was a self-generating electrical source. I'm actually want to build one on the YouTube channel just to show people on a miniature scale, because our body is bioelectrical, and the interaction between it and the Ankh would actually create light and darkness. So lots of interesting technology in ancient times, but it just goes to show you, it's like one day we didn't just wake up. Like, I know for people that they're in their 20s, like I know that you were born with an iPhone in your hand, but like there was a period of time like that between what I call the real Great Reset, when the flood happened, like was this stuff going on, and like this is called a Vimana. And it was a flying thing. They said they were actually even flying cities. And when you look at frequency and levitation, and they take, I mean, this is easy stuff. Guys, I can get my little frequency thing for checking electrical. And you can play the right frequency. And I can lay like this electrical tool on the table, and I can make it lift up and levitate. Like they're today, like they're doing this today in our world. And so like to say that, you couldn't have levitation and flying craft and things like that in the past, like people used to see this as if it was like a Boeing 747 flying over. It was just another day to them. Like if we see something like this out in the backyard today, we're going to be like, what in the world did I just see go on? And it was just another day to them people, just like in the 30s and the 20s before the Hindenburg, that you see, the dirigibles and blimps. And so another thing is that when you go to the school indoctrination system like we did in the past, everything that we've been taught in history, I just take it, I crumple it up in my brain, and I throw it in file 13 and start over. Because an example of this is people say Tartaria never exists. They also, this is where all the mud flood talk comes from, and the whole world was Tartaria at one time, and then it was the kingdom of Christ during Messiah's kingdom during the 1,000-year reign, because now we're in Satan's little season, and there's a lot of stuff to unpack with this thought. But the question is did the place actually exist? And the answer is yes, it did. And not only did it exist, but this is a book that was from Gatlin. This was found in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, Joel, of all places. And I can give y'all the link. It's archived, the entire book, which is just magnificent. I'm so grateful for it. But I've done everybody some already work on it. I've done the hard work for everybody and went ahead and pulled it up to the page. But you can see right here, Tartary. It literally existed just as early as the late 1700s. So just in a matter of a couple hundred years, geopolitically, things have been wiped off the map. Now, I don't know why the big look, I don't invest a lot of time in digging into why Tartary is such a huge sticking point, whether it's in the college system, whether it's out here in the religious community. I don't know. Like a lot of people between it and the Byzantine Empire, they feel that it was elements of the kingdom of Messiah during the little season. And I'm going to get into the little season in a minute. And because the days of Noah, it's very important that if we understand if we're in the days of Noah, then why are we looking at the little season? Because a lot of people are going down that path, and I don't want people to be caught unawares, because I'd be thrilled if it was Satan's little season. All we got to do is wait for the kingdom of the Most High to come down, and well, that's that. Forget the trumpets, forget the vows, forget the bowls of wrath. Guys, just take a day off, man, and sell your generator. We're good. Don't work like that. So the knowing that our history just is a little while back has been edited and lied to, then that causes a lot of people to fall into the trap of that Messiah's return was in 70 AD. People say, well, Messiah came back 70 AD. Preterism movement teaches this greatly. And the problem is that if we go with this, then we have some issues, is because we have the river Euphrates drying up in our generation as early as just 10 years ago. So something that was prophesied 2 millennia ago that is apparently supposed to have taken place before Messiah's advent, second advent, and yet now, today, I always like to say today because people get squirrely out here and get lost on timeline. In this hour, in this moment that you're breathing oxygen, that's oxygen, two molecules of oxygen, okay? So on that elemental chart that was obviously being taught at the beginning of creation, because the fallen angels have been teaching this stuff to man. So the things that we think are, science and just been found now have been with us from the get-go. That time and date at AD 70, if that took place, then you have to have a lot of things answered for as word to seven trumpets happen. Why do we have the Hebrew Israelites scattered out throughout the nations today? Why ain't they in the kingdom? Okay, like why ain't all these people that apparently are descendants of Abraham, why ain't they kings and priests in the kingdom right now already? Like, why haven't them people been rescued? That's not number one question. If I'm the King of Kings coming to save my people, why have I got my people scattered all over the place being oppressed? Why is Deuteronomy 28 still on the menu? Like somebody make it make sense. I want to see the receipts on them 7 trumpets, because I ain't seen a third of the stars fall up out of the heaven yet, and I can still get the receipts for the ones that's up there. So where did that go? And why ain't the moon been darkened? Why ain't they been a third of the ships destroyed and laid all over the place because they were blown out of the sea? Like, there is a lot of receipts that are not on the menu, and I need to see them receipts. So knowing that we are in the days of Noah and that we're seeing a repeat of that, and we're looking for the second coming, we don't want to get off on the preterist doctrine. And I just want to put that out there, that this is becoming a big conversation piece. I wish it was true. Seven Trumpets Prepper would be the first one to herald it from the mountaintop that I was wrong, and I'm so glad I was wrong. But you ain't going to get that from me today. And it probably has never come. I'm just going to be honest. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, just be cautious of this doctrine going on, because I feel like it has the power to lull people to sleep just as much as the pre-tribulation rapture doctrine. Now, I mean, Joel and Keen, you guys want to chime in on that real quick before I move on? I was curious on your thoughts on this when I got to this point.
Yeah, no, I agree that there's a lot that needs to be talked about and discussed and witnessed to even bring that to the table. I do know that I'm not an expert on the preterist doctrine. I had a couple conversations with a few different ones, but it seems like primarily what I've been hearing is the hanging the hat on Luke. Was it Luke 21? I believe it is, where it says all of these things will come to pass in this generation, and they interpret that passage to say that all of the things that's supposed to happen is going to happen to the generation that the Messiah was speaking of at that time in Luke. And since all of those things happen, then it brings forth that everything had been fulfilled by 70 AD. And now we're living in the kingdom, this spiritual kingdom of heaven in the millennial reign right now. And that all the things that the prophets had talked about had already happened. And I get that there's a lot of symbolism, a lot of metaphors and different things that's used in the literary text. When you talk about the Bible and other different texts, but there are some literal things too. There's some physical things, right? All of the characters in this book, that some people look at it that way, but these are also historical figures, people who actually lived, breathed, did actual things, right? And so to write a lot of this off as just symbolism and personification and metaphor, and you got to look at the etymology of everything and disregard the tangible aspect of it to prove your doctrine, I think that is a little bit of a reach.
Yeah.
My perspective.
Interestingly enough, bringing up preterism and so forth, it wasn't. It was shortly before Rob Skiba passed away. Actually, he had a guy on that was a partial preterist, right? And I had never heard of that. Like, I could tell from just listening to the preterists that they weren't going to convince me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I tried to look into it because, I'm not going to discount anything, until I've searched it out, but I could tell that I was, that it just didn't make sense. Now, the partial preterism, which I've not taken the time to really get into, but the brother that Rob Skiba had on the show was, and I don't remember who he was, but he was making a lot of sense in some of the things he was saying. I haven't been able to, haven't had the time to really dig into that. I may be somewhat inclined to agree with some of that, depending, because I haven't really studied it out. But as far as like, there's plenty of things that still clearly need to happen that have not. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a huge deception there. You know what I mean?
Well, guys, the last caveat I drop on that is that just two things. Number one is, like, Joel, anytime me and you shared something over the past, 13, 14, 15 years, almost at the same time, we'll go and look at the same different information, completely opposite of each other, not knowing what's going on, and come to the same logical conclusion. Mm-hmm. I've not been able to reconcile the preterism. Like I said, guys, I would love for this to be right. The fact that I would love for that to be right even further bothers my spirit, because it's the easy button. And the other thing that bothers me about this, especially as a Gentile convert looking from outside the box in, if I was a Hebrew Israelite and heard this, I would be livid. So I'm like, so all my people that suffered under Deuteronomy 28, carried away in ships, all the horrible things that happened to my ancestry, and I was just left behind. Cool. I appreciate the memo. Like, I would be beyond livid. And that's why I look to the book, and I look to the people anymore, and to history of the people before I look at anything else. Because the problem I have with this is, number one, I see the apple of the Most High's eye being left behind. That's not cool. The second problem is, so help me reconcile how, like, this is like a Lazarus moment. Poor old Lazarus, dude drops out. Messiah comes in, helps the brother out. Then he drops out again. Now you're telling me he came back in AD 7. Darn, Lazarus is on round 4, people. Lazarus has lived and died and lived and died. I mean, this dude has got hell in the grave on the hook. And I mean, listen, he needs to write a book and publish on because everybody always wants to know what happens when you die. Dude got up, went right back to the dinner table and act like it was just another moment. But for some reason, we still try and figure out what happens after death. But scripture says, live and know you die, dead don't know anything. But anyway, I just, it's, I don't know. Somebody said, I don't think you understand Seven Trumpets if you'd be happy to be in a season of such deception. I don't know what they mean on that. I'll have to come back to that, but I don't want to spend too much time on that. So the thing is when you see this moment going on though, and the whole talk of Tartaria, mud floods, preterism, what stuck out to me is the more that I went into it, like this is the St. Louis World's Fair. They kept saying all these World's Fairs were built and then they would destroy them afterwards. This is insanity. As a contractor, I would never go out and build something like this. And they'd be like, well, that was cool. Let's just run a bulldozer over it. That's a brilliant idea. Like the buildings that are left behind today are like marble. And they're like, I mean, like they're seriously structurally built. And they said, though, these buildings were made out of plaster. Now, the problem I have is that I believe this is that sandwich, the peanut butter in between the two sandwich pieces that I said really mattered. This is Luke going in theory mode for a minute. Why is the doors on these buildings so massive that a giant could walk through them? Why is it the technology that exists at these places? Like these places had lighting, like street lights and like stuff like Nikola Tesla. I'm talking like serious business kind of stuff.
Why massive use of ether?
Yeah, the use of ether, absolutely. And I believe that not only did they, because you see a lot of these buildings too, that like a lot of the windows and doors, half the buildings were like inundated, and they look like they've been mudded over. Anytime you have a flood, I live right next door to where there was a flood and a ton of victims. If you look at the buildings, about half the lower level of the buildings and doorways and windows, they're flooded. The mud was left up next to them. Now that tells me, analytically looking at this, that when the flood in Noah's day took place, many of these cities were existing at that time, and they were flooded over. And then when the floodwaters resided, these cities were actually, when they say founded, they were found again and then reutilized. And that's why you also see them, a lot of pictures of them empty. And then later people are actually dwelling in them, because I believe these are pre-Diluvian cities that were man and giants lived in, and there was technology. Now that's my argument that I would make that makes more sense within why they still are within the timeline with us. Because these buildings today, you can actually go look at them. And if you don't think that, like right here, look at some of these, how big the openings were, and look how small the people were in comparison to them. And these are lit up, electrical, fireworks going off. I mean, if you actually look at the top of these buildings now, as an electrician, I can break some of this down, is that you have the energy harvester, you have the chemical reaction within the brass sphere, you have pretty much, I'm just going to lay this in layman's term, a capacitor, inducer, and then it goes on down to be distributed in wireless electricity. And you might be like, well, that don't work. That ain't so. Well, we do this stuff today. I mean, you literally, we can transmit electricity today. You can do that with an exciter ring, just like Nikola Tesla done at New York and lit up New York. And that's a thing that that's historical. I mean, that's historical within our time. And this is actually just down the road. I plan to take a road trip. Joel, if you want to ride along one day, man, you ain't busy, I'm going to go check this out, because apparently, I don't want to say the deity's name, but it's Athena, that Greek deity and of the pantheon of Greek deities. Apparently, they had a pantheon there where they would worship that deity. And false deity. I need to make sure to clarify false deity. There is only the Most High. Everything else is garbage. But if you see right there, that middle temple, I believe they call it a Parthenon, don't they? Is that what that's called? Am I calling that wrong? It's Greek Parthenon, right? I believe that's that particular temple structure. But anyway, this was in downtown Nashville. And that structure, they said, actually was then torn down and then rebuilt. But it's there today. And some of the structures are still there today. And this was all the way back in 1897. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know how that you build pyramids, Parthedons, and all this stuff when you barely have any population in this area at that era. Ladies and gentlemen, these are buildings that were pre-existent from another time. These are Pantheon. Thank you in the comments there. You know, and another thing is people will point out, be like, well, the Byzantine period, the Dark Ages, the Phantom Time and such, you know, was during the time of Messiah's reign, and then after that, you know, the Satan was loosed, and then these things were repurposed, and the destruction and all this stuff, and then we have everything rebranded and labeled today. All I'm telling you, folks, is when the D-Day +1 happens and a third of the stars fall out of the heavens above, it's going to be really hard reconciling, getting prepared for the day and hour of tribulation that's about to break forth upon you at that point. So that's my last Luke's advertisement of to get prepared. Now, just a few last touchdowns here, and then we're going to be on the tail end of this for the days of Noah. Where we're at is that when we look at people like Nikola Tesla, I've always respected Nikola Tesla's work as somebody that's an entrepreneur, done electrical engineer work and all sorts of things. Like he's always been a person I've leaned on his work. And he spoke of the ether. And when he spoke of the ether, he didn't speak of it like, oh, that's cool subculture. You know, like I got my Star Wars lightsaber. Like he really meant what he said, and he said what he meant. And so when we look at that, there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, and nothing hidden that will not be made known. Okay. And when we look at today, the knowledge that is being shared in our generation, and we look back and see all these things that they say, well, it wasn't going on. You can do an AI check nowadays on pictures of giants and all this stuff, because listen, ladies and gentlemen, if Akeen or Joel tells me something, it's as if it was gospel truth. I believe them. I'll bleed for them. But when you send me a picture on the internet anymore, the first thing I'm going to do is reverse AI, make sure, check that thing ain't AI. All right. So I love everybody.
Thanks.
Don't even trust nothing I'm putting up here. Like this is for educational purposes. Some of these pictures I'm sharing at the moment, is that when we look back, people's like, well, see, they ain't no giants. We don't have no proof of bones and all this stuff. Well, the Cahokian Indian mounds, I believe it is in Illinois, and other mounds, Indian mounds, they have found giant bones. And not only that, but the Smithsonian, this is one, like under the CIA, I would say the Smithsonian is the second most corrupt institution in the world. And the reason being is if you don't know your history, you don't know where you're going. And so that plays right into the religious aims of everything from the Roman Catholic Church to the political powers that be, helping keep people ignorant. And the Smithsonian, if you look at this is actually, I believe this building, the architecture of it, I believe it's another building from a long time ago, repurposed. Point in case on that, I'll bring up about the state or the U.S. Capitol in a minute as well. But this is a book, if anybody wants to check it out, The Ancient Giants Who Ruled America and the Missing Skeletons in the Great Smithsonian Cover-Up. Like there is a lot of documentation nowadays about the missing inventory from the Smithsonian that is specific to giants. Now, listen, if you want to go see the frog collection, you want to go see the toenail collection from the Viking guy from the 1300s, we got you covered. But if you want to check out the giants from Noah's day, we can't help you there, bro. Like we're completely out of stock. We don't have nobody from even the Big Bang, right? Like they ain't got nothing. So they got you Darwin, they got you the lizard, they got you the two-legged lizard, they got you the four-legged monkey that then turned into apparently a man, and then we turned into all sorts of different colors of the Home Depot color chart wheel. They got all that covered, but they don't have the giants. All right.
Well, and don't forget about the T-Rex from 400 million years ago, right?
Oh yeah.
They got all of that too, but
yeah, we got
and the lunar lander and all that kind of stuff.
And all of that, right?
Man, now Joel, that was a low blow. They really worked hard on that aluminum foil, bro.
they really worked hard on it. But now, interestingly, there was It's actually not as uncommon as most people think for these giant skeletons to be found. It's just whenever they do get found, who do they contact? They're like, oh, well, who do I tell about this? And then they call their local museum, and then some people from the Vatican and the Smithsonian show up, and then the skeletons disappear. I mean, there was a guy in Ohio that I forget what he was digging up. I think he was digging a foundation or something. But he found 2 giant skeletons. They were like 18 feet tall, and they were wearing Phoenician armor. And he had first contacted a newspaper or something, and then he had some people from the Vatican show up and start asking him questions, and the Smithsonian contacted him, and then like he woke up the next morning and it was all gone. It just had disappeared. You know, I mean, they take the stuff out on boats and dump it in the ocean. You know what I mean? And they're more there to cover things up than they are to actually showcase the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, that's a 100 point. I don't know if y'all seen that comment. Not to go squirrel. I've tried to stay out of the comments and stay focused, but I could not help but see Pride of Judah wrote, "The Smithsonian is a black hole where the truth goes to die." I just want to give them the comment of the night.
It is.
That is amazing. Shout out to that guy. I love him. You know, the thing is too, Joel, to piggyback on that, just a pinch, is that I don't know if you've seen it where the guy was digging in his garden. I want to say it was like in Eastern Europe, and he found a petrified dragon. And I guess the next thing you know, that was off the radar too. And see, this is the problem, guys, is if I was corrupt, okay, like I always try to unpack things. If I was wicked, right, and you come to me and said, "Bro, I found giant bones in my backyard," I'm not going to come and unalive you. I'm not going to come and steal your stuff. I'm just going to whip out my checkbook and be like, "Listen, is it the PlayStation 5 or that 80-inch TV you need? And listen, you box that up and put it in your garage. Keep it for your grandkids. We don't care. I just need you to go back in your house and just be a lemming. So what does that cost on the checkbook?" And then that'd be that. But instead, they go and unalive these people. They make martyrs of these people. They make conspiracies. And I'm about to show you.
See, here's the thing. Your thought process and theirs is completely different because, you know, in order to think that way, you would have to be that way. You know?
Yeah. I also wanted to make a quick note to when you were talking about how none of the ancient civilizations were like made. They were just repurposing buildings that was already there. I think another reason why the cover-up was so easily accepted by the masses is because what they did was they took that ancient architectural design and just implemented in a modern way. So they made like the modern buildings have that what we call old-fashioned look, so that when different remains of buildings from Tartaria gets founded, it just like, oh, that was just an old building. But when you realize how old that building actually is, and it predates what we accept that architecture design, because you know, I remember taking a class, and it's kind of like fashion trends. You got architectural design goes from a certain year to a certain year, and that's when it was popular, where people were building it like that. Then it fades away, and you go into a newer type of design, and that's the hot thing for several years, or even sometimes decades, or even hundreds of years, and then it reverts back, and it's this constant ebb and flow. But when you realize that this particular type of design predates the oldest evidence that we have of that particular type of design, it's like, well, where did it come from? And you can't say that it is, but since they merge it and they blend it, it's easier for the masses to kind of see it. Like I saw a picture in the middle of a street, of a highway. It was cobblestone. It was deteriorating through a pothole, and it was cobblestone underneath the highway, and embedded in the cobblestone was railroads. And it was in an area where there was no railroads. There was none of that. Yeah. So is letting you know that they had rail systems back in those days that was just covered up, and they didn't even take a lot of like effort to cover it up. They literally just threw concrete and what's the asphalt over the top of it, and it began to deteriorate over time. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, two interesting examples just from recent times that's really stuck out to me is the first one is the U.S. Capitol when they done the so-called remodel on it. Dude, they dug to China underneath that building. Like it went layers and layers deep. Like there is a ton of building underneath the ground there. And it's like, why was all that covered up? And then the other thing and that really stuck out to me recently is I think the YouTube channel, I want to shout them out, is Bright Insight. They're an archaeology channel I love to watch. Is that a friend of his is an archaeologist in China, and he goes into the broken sections of the China Wall. And what they found is that the section that the Chinese government refurbished that lets the public see, it has archery protection on both sides of the wall. So it looks really cool. But when you actually go on the broken parts, the ramparts of the wall, the archery protection slots are turned inwards toward China. And when you look at, for example, Marco Polo, that apparently was supposed to walk the Silk Road. Now, I don't know about y'all, but if I had walked thousands of miles in a Chinese territory, seeing a China wall, I'd have wrote about it at least once, but like, man, this wall is big. Instead, he has a Tartary flag on his, like oh, help me out, like a sigil, on his sigil is an example of something from Tartary. And I'm like, okay, so now they're saying that it was actually the Great Wall of Tartary to keep China out. And I'm like, that, but like the reason I bring that up right there is an example, Akeem. So like there was that wall, it belonged to Tartary. Tartary's dissolved somewhere around the 1700s, just dissolved out of history. I mean, look what they did with flat Earth just within the 1960s, and it dissolved out of textbooks. Yep. And then you make it that the actual people that you were trying to keep out, it's now their wall. Congratulations. Yep. You got a wall.
His story.
So, yeah, his story. That's exactly right, brother. 100. Moving forward, this is like really wild, and it is very true story. This happened back 3 years ago. Did you all see this? The Andrew Dawson thing?
I did not.
Okay, so this is what started TikTok for Lucas, because I don't do TikTok. But this guy was a normal TikToker, and anybody that saw this, please chime in the comments, and I would really like to know people's thoughts on this. Anyway, the guy was just a normal dude like me, had a family, went to work. He was filming on his way going down the highway one day, and he said he seen a giant on the mountain, and he filmed it, and it posted public on TikTok. And the next thing you know, he was like, I'm going to go investigate this. So then the cops start harassing him. Then the military shows up on the mountaintop where the guy seen it in broad daylight doing military exercise to remove it. Absolutely, Cindy. I've got the obituary to show everybody in just a second. And so then he goes on to make a really weird out-of-pocket video and say, hey, this was all a hoax. I didn't do it. I was just doing it for views, blah, blah, blah. And keep in mind, the guy's TikTok was normal as get until this situation happened. And then he goes on later to, I guess his conscience got the best of him, and he went back on later and said, hey, listen, everything I told you was really true. So guess what happens to old boy next? Just FYI, if on the Why Files, if you want to watch it on YouTube, it's season 5, episode 15. You can watch the full documentary on that. I looked him up after what happened and found him, and I watched what you did on Andrew Dawson, then did my research. You were 100% on point, bro. I appreciate that, Sister Tess. I did some serious investigation work. I'm talking like, man, this is like Inspector Gadget. I'm talking like Agatha Christie kind of novel, Hercule Poirot. I mean, we went all in on this. I found the dude's obituary, and sure enough, they unalived him. And right there, he died July 1st, 2022, like right there as that all was going on. And nobody talked about this stuff anymore. But the reason I bring this up is because, I tried to follow him, his account and all that stuff disappeared too. But this guy legitimately put it out there for the public to see a giant in modern times on a mountaintop, and he didn't fake it. That was all legit. And the problem that made it so legit was that not only did the police harass him, not only would they not let him in the area, then in public view and daylight, the military goes up there, and they even had a helicopter up there on the mountain dealing with this situation in public view off the highway. And then they go to this guy and harass him, and he videos it, and then he's unalived. Like, that solidified that this was legit. And I'm like, wow, this is really crazy, because like, we're in 2022, and I just seen a Nephilim for the first time real in my own eyes. Like, that was a cementing moment for me. And if you go, somebody said his video is now being showed somehow. People's copied it, and you can duet them and stuff like that. My wife knows this stuff. It's not my wheelhouse. But that just goes to show you now that, like, we can verify, we have at least one verifiable witness that we have seen giants in the last days. And of course, many other people shared videos and such, but like, this was so legit that like millions of people watched a man be unalived for the truth of it. So that's an important witness for us in the last days, because we've seen in the beginning that in Noah's day, these things were present. Now, we also seen that, all flesh was corrupted. There was hybridizations of man and beast. This was in the New York Times. I tried to use credible sources. This is just one example of many things. They're trying to recreate dragons and etc. Cindy, I'll be honest with you, hon. I don't know. Like, YouTube has gotten really clamped down on those type discussions. We're going to have to talk in parables about things like that on here, especially, the Nephilim. But there's a lot to unpack with that investigation. But the other thing that is so important is 2019 was a turning point, because many people felt the mark of the beast was underway at that point. But to me, the mark of the beast construct is being laid right now. You've got robots being made in great demand. You have Neuralink being built. You have all sorts of buying and selling controlling mechanisms be put in place. And right now, if you don't want to participate in something, just like in 2019, if I still wanted to buy and sell, I could. Heck, if you told me I couldn't go to the restaurant, I door dashed. You said I couldn't get toilet paper, I had the what's the service where you pay them, like CVS and stuff, and they drop the toilet paper off for you? Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's like DoorDash, but they go get your stuff for you. Anyway, you can take part in that. I did all sorts of things. And they said you couldn't go nowhere. I went places. It wasn't under pain of death. And so, like, you didn't see that in full force at that point. But what we did see is that many people's DNA was forever altered. And that is a factual statement that can be made now, and then of course is being shared on many levels, just how much that has taken place. And so now we have hybridized human beings, just like in the days of Noah, and we did not have that on the menu until just a few years ago. So we have giants, we have hybridized animals, we have hybridized human beings, and the scripture in Revelation is so paramount about us being warned about that in the last days, because it says, Mystery Babylon, for your merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your sorceries all the nations were deceived. And we know that the fallen angels taught the cutting of root and all the enchantments and all this different stuff and sorcery. They taught that all the way back in Noah's day. And this is what helped corrupt the earth to the point where the absolute reset button had to be hit. So here we are.
Well, something else that's interesting to note here is, if you look that word up in the Greek, sorcery, it's the pharmakia.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And Brother Joel is 100% on point. That is not a right there. Yeah, it's not his thought. That is a factual statement. And you need to understand too that in ancient times, ladies and gentlemen, pharmakia was two different things. There was actual healing of herbs and such. And then there was worship practice done in false deity temples using pharmaceutical drug sorcery, like really like heavy, crazy stuff going on, like this potion mix concoction, crazy stuff for the worship of false deities and stuff. So it's so important to understand the depths of words that like it really means what it says and says what it means sometimes. And you need to get a study tools if you don't have it, just like that's free, eSword, and use it to help look at the depth of the word. Okay. And so we see that the repeat of what was done in the beginning with the fallen is being repeated on a grand scale now. Because, I mean, like, there was multitudes of people alive in the ancient times. There is billions of people alive now. And so, like, you are seeing the days of Noah 2.0 on a grander scale. Another thing, too, is that although you do not see physically the fallen angels with us right now, we know that during the trumpets, we will physically see the manifestation of this stuff done. Not only that, those that are bound in the river Euphrates are being released. Those that are in the abyss are being released. So the ones that got the show on the road in the beginning are coming back on stage at the end. So you're going to see a remanifestation of that. And CE4 Research Group, Greg Hamp and help me out, Joel. Doug Hamp and you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, the guys had the talk show. They had, I think it was their talk show one time I was listening to. They had CE4 Research Group on, and they brought out that every time somebody had a so-called alien abduction, they cried out to Messiah, that the abduction stopped. That tells you it's a demonic fallen angel interaction. Okay. And
yeah, there was a documentary featuring Chuck Missler that I watched years ago, and they talked about that. But Chuck Missler said also is very interesting if you look at Genesis 6 and compare it to the modern alien abductions that are going on. What are they always doing? What are they always extracting? They're always they're always probing the genitals. You know what I'm saying? It's not, you know, they're always extracting sexual fluids. They're not just they're not digging into people's chest or anything. You know what I'm saying? It's always some type of sexual thing in nature, which indicates that it has to do with some sort of reproduction.
Yeah, very much so. And these are documented cases too. Like there is tons of study material that is public knowledge about this now. And that's what's crazy to me, ladies and gentlemen, is like we're living in a time where the only reason you should not know something is because you were ignorant to it. Now, willful ignorance and willful stupidity is something I just can't get with. But if you don't know, this is the opportune time to definitely you can know because it's available to be known. And it's important to understand that the final card, like I've done a stream about recently on my channel, is that we're at that point where the final card is going to be laid on the table. And you got to understand that Satan always copies and tries to emulate and corrupt anything that is good and righteous. And so this is why I believe that following the trumpets, that when the heavenly kingdom comes down, I have a deep-seated thought that it will probably be a pyramid instead of a cube, because it can be equal on all sides, just like measurements in Revelation. And it would make sense that Satan would spend so much time embellishing the thought of the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, and all these things, so that when the true heavenly kingdom come down, they would want to attack it. Now, I'm not, whether it's a cube or a pyramid is fine by me. I'm just leaving these thoughts with everyone that should the scenario play out, I mean, it is very clear that just, and just looking right here too, like I've got sci-fi film examples right there with it too, is, you see these things and the thought, just like if you've seen the Death Star above, oh, that's bad. Well, I've always seen the pyramid floating. That's bad. And so the thought is they want to attack the kingdom and whenever we see the heavenly kingdom come one day, that thought may be the very thing that goes through their mind, because that they have embellished that thought for so long. And once again, Luke's not saying that there's actually a video, I think it's a 38-minute video I plan to watch actually tomorrow on Sabbath, where people are making the argument that they feel that the heavenly kingdom will be a pyramid because of said things. But regardless, is the final card that's being played right now is so important the last days because they're wanting to set up everybody's mind that there's aliens, they're going to attack us. And then after they do pull a stunt like this, if you're burnt once, what are you going to do the next time when you actually see the real deal come? You're going to try to attack it. And so just some thoughts on that. But we are definitely living in the last days because the replay of Noah, what we've seen in Noah's day, we're seeing all the check mark. Like when you're going to check off something on a shopping list, you don't go to Walmart and buy like a pack of eggs, biscuits, butter, and forget the milk. You buy all the things on the shopping list. You check all the boxes. And right now, we are checking finally today in this generation, checking all the boxes. So that is why it is so important that we're on code red, high alert, because unlike any generation before us, we can actually put a finger on paper and be like, hey, I've got all these checked off now. So I hope that's a help to those that are, looking and researching and asking the tough questions. Hey, are we pre-tribulation? Are we at the tail end of the millennial kingdom? Are we in Satan's little season? Where are we at? What's going on around here? What do I need to be doing with my life? Need to be keeping the commands, having faith in Messiah, and honor the Most High and worship Him, and be present and be prepared for the days ahead. And so, guys, that's all I have to submit to everyone. I turn the floor over to you, man.
Absolutely, man. First off, man, let's give this brother for an amazing presentation. Let's give him a round of applause, man. That was awesome.
Appreciate that, bro.
I definitely agree that we should be preparing. We should also be aware of what's going on around us, be aware of different signs that the Bible tells us is going to happen. So when we see it, we're not ignorantly like, what's that? And you just walking over the destruction. You should already if you don't got your go bags, right, you already behind the curve. But absolutely great presentation, brother. Great presentation. What you think, Professor S?
Oh man, it was that was really good. And like I'd be thinking something or even say something, and then the next slide he'd pull up was
already had it locked and loaded.
Already. It was already. Yep. Yeah, there was several times I was going to say something, and then I was like, nah, he's probably got it coming next, and then it came. So I didn't even need to. I was like, I'll wait just a minute.
See, that's why I love hanging out with you guys, is because when one of us is talking about something, I'll be thinking about, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna say something, and then Akeem will be like, and then he'll say it 2 seconds later, and I'm like, well, I'm done. I'm done. I don't even need to be thinking about it. He done said it. But that is something I cherish so much in these last days, is fellowship like this, because to be in a collective of people that love the Father and are diligently like looking at things through the radar lens, it is just so slim anymore, guys. And it's so depressing some days. Like, I try not to think about it, but it always comes up to the forefront of my mind,
Yeah. I mean, it certainly can be, but most of the prophets had to go off by themselves and be alone too. So,
Yeah, that is very true, Joe. That is sad but true. You look at Elijah, you look at Eliyahu, man, that dude went through it. I mean, I can't even imagine the struggle bus that he had to do in his day. I mean, it's just crazy.
Or Isaiah getting sawed in half. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah. Well, at least Eliyahu got to get them prophets of Baal. I mean, right, I would have mocked them too, especially knowing that the Most High is going to send that fire down and burn that offering. Boy, I would have mocked him big time.
Absolutely. Well, what I wanted to, because there's so many comments that the comments have just been flowing this entire time. I pulled them up, pulled them back down, put them up, put them back down, just because certain parts of the presentation you can see the whole slide. But if you have a question for Brother Lucas, Professor S, or even myself, just drop a comment and I'll do my best to try to ask it. It'll take a couple minutes just to answer a couple questions. Again, great presentation, brother.
I
Um,
appreciate you.
those people that are on my platform who were on a panel earlier, if you want to come back, jump on in and ask Lucas a question, you can do that now, and I'll keep an eye out for the chat. First one I see is Regina. I really like to know why we call them aliens when they were, I'm assuming, here before we were.
Gotcha. No, we all answering this collectively, or you just want me to answer this?
I mean, she didn't single it out. I guess we can all tackle it.
Okay.
When I see the word alien, I just think foreign. That's the way I look at it. I look at it as foreign. I mean, I know modern day society kind of attached the word alien to this just weird discolored figure with a big head at the top. You know what I'm saying? But I look at alien as foreign and something that's foreign to you, you know, but I don't really.
Well, yeah, I mean,
word.
Abraham was an alien going through, you know,
yeah,
going through the land that his offspring was going to inherit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, basically that's it. It's something that's foreign. That's something that we're unaccustomed to, or not. Yeah. But besides that, I would say they might have been in existence before us, but they're not. This isn't their place. You know what I'm saying? Because the scripture says that the earth was made for man. You know what I'm saying? So they still would be alien in that aspect. So
I think the way I would answer that to them is that, like, I try to always put myself in people's shoes. And when I've been to Chichen Itza twice down there in Central America, and stood there where, you know, like multitudes of people were sacrificed to false deities. And I won't say that, you know, Mesoamerican deity name, but I was just standing there, and I've stood there multiple times in my travels to Mexico, and I've looked at places like that, and the figures and the entities and the glyphs and the way they depict these things separated from mankind, and I'm like, I think it just really goes back to whenever I said about, you know, the technology, is that the reason they look at these things and they're so, like Joel pointed out, foreign, and you know, we look at them like aliens, is because they elevated these people in their minds, so these fallen angels in their minds, so far up high that they're like, I'm just a little person, a little peasant down here, and this person can fly, and they can throw thunderbolts, and they require sacrifice to them, and you know, like, they're playing these people. Like, I mean, literally all they're doing is they got the rule book. They know exactly every rule for the game. And these people just coming on, starting to play the game, and they don't even know what's up. So they're just getting taken. And there's this huge gap between the fallen angels and the created. And so to the mind, they're the separation that's created there. I mean, it's why that people of all these cultures have looked at them like they're, you know, aliens and outer space men and stuff like that, because they've had the ability to manipulate. Anybody in sound doctrine with the word alone, with the scripture alone, should be insulated against the fallen angels pulling that stunt again in the last days, which there'll be multitudes give into it. But we have the insulation because that we've had opportunity to see, hey, we live under a flat, or, you know, under a geostationary flat earth, firmament dome above, and waters above and waters below. So we're in a bathysphere, essentially. So we're in a pressurized environment, enclosed, protected, and the Most High right above us. So we know we're not galaxies away. You know, this is not Star Wars. And knowing that, then we're dealing with a spiritual entity, and we're hostage, unfortunately, in the same realm with those psychopaths. So we're going to see that, you know, on a grand scale in our backyard. Unfortunately, now that's the sad info on that side of it.
Well, you know, it's kind of like y'all seen have y'all seen Childhood's End? It's an interesting sci-fi miniseries. I think it was like 3 or 4 episodes. They're like an hour and a half each. There's these aliens that come down and they manipulated mankind, right? And when they finally revealed what they looked like, they had their feet had hooves, and they had these they basically looked like depictions of the devil, right?
Gotcha.
Very interesting show, but they manipulated people so carefully. Is weird. Then they had all these rituals performed to them, the scientific rituals performed and stuff. And really, that goes back to the pharmakia and the science, right? What we're told is science is really not, and what we're told oftentimes is magic and stuff is really not. It's just the way the world works, like the ether and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way things work. It's not this mystical, magical. It's just how it works, right? But they've everything's been convoluted to us and flipped upside down and turned around, and we're told this is one thing when it's actually not.
Yep.
It's so,
or it's inverted. It's always inverted.
Yeah.
Most often it's inverted.
And there is a definite reason that the agenda of the elites is to mock the scriptures and make people feel like an ignoramus for reading the Bible, right? Because people who read the Bible can see through the deceptions, right? And that's also an indication of, if someone that goes to church all the time and they're completely brainwashed, what are they really not reading? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if you read it, if you just read it, that's all you have to do, and you can see through the deceptions all around us. So, there's all these agendas, and it goes right along with what you were saying, these agendas, because as we get further and further, there's going to be fewer and fewer people who are capable of critical thought and saying, does this make sense? Let me try to put 2 and 2 together here. It's going to be more and more people that just say, oh, well, I was told by an authority, so that's how it is.
Yep.
Well, Keen, absolutely. I think you can speak to this one better than I can. As I'm sure from the years in military service, you have heard the term "hold until relieved" many times. And I think that is the only safe operating standard we have at the moment to operate off of. And you correct me if I'm wrong, bro. If I'm out of line, you correct me on this. But the reason I say that is because unless the chariots of the Most High come to Luke's house at my house and beam me up, Scotty, I don't care if a UFO lands in my yard tonight. You are not welcome. You are going to get the AK-47 special. I'm going to pepper you. Man, you're going to get unalived in the yard, on the porch. I mean, we're going down together if we have to. Heck, I'll flip my little John Wick button. We'll blow the whole farm apart. Like, we're going together. But now, if you show up and shining bright like the sun, and you open the gates on that thing, you say, listen, this is going to the Golden City. You know what's up. I'm like, hey, thank you so much for my golden ticket. Thank you. I appreciate the ride. I mean, it's just that simple. It's just
Absolutely.
that easy. It's like that. Was it that Adidas commercial? Y'all, you know what I'm talking about? Where they were beaming up the Hebrew Israelites. You remember I shared that on a live stream sometime back.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Apocalypse Foot Locker commercial. If y'all ain't never seen
it. Foot Locker. Yep.
Crazy. It was crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, am I off base on thinking that, Akeen, or I mean, you think that's the best policy for the hour that we're in?
I'm right with you. I don't got an AK, but I got an AR.
Yeah. Until the Most High comes with a 9-line for me, I'm holding until relieved, man.
Absolutely. We got a question from either Sister Tess or Sister Cindy. 1 second. All right, go ahead, sis.
This is Tess. I just wanted to know if I can say this. I hope it's okay. Is the alien card the last card?
I wholeheartedly feel it is. So she needs you.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is that a collective question or?
Yes, in general. I'm just curious. Is that the last card? Because I think it is, but I'm not 100% positive.
Yeah, I'm to the point where I'm willing to bet the farm on it at this point. And I'll tell you the reason why is because you always get that pre-drip from the media before the next insanity. And it's just all over the news now. Like, I mean, it's in the news to the point where they said the other day they're monitoring something above us and they can't figure out what it is. So I feel like it's very near and dear. Matter of fact, if I want to go full conspiracy mode here, after Ukraine just blew up Russia's backyard and everything in it as early as 24 hours ago, and I think they did a bridge with it too and a submarine, either we're going to have World War III very soon, which might be the big distraction before the gear up of the final card drop. But I feel it's imminent. The only thing that makes me think it's going to hold off for a minute is you need about another year or two prep work to really set the new world order grid in place. And I just don't understand why you would play that card yet unless you're ready to fully enslave humanity, because you need that as the enemy. Now, I don't know. That's all I have to say, man.
I'd say it's probably going to be one of the last cards because, we know that the anti-Messiah is going to negotiate a peace treaty. And it's just like Ronald Reagan said, if we were facing some extraterrestrial threat, then how little our problems would seem. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, really, if they were to play that card, it would be the perfect catalyst for a peace treaty.
Great question.
Yeah. Also, I was wondering. You remember I know we all remember what happened in 2020.
Oh yeah.
Does it seem like to you that's getting ready to ramp up and play out again? That's what I think from what I'm seeing, but I'm not positive. Like, I trust y'all. I trust your research, every one of you. It's like, I'm curious what you think about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was just a test. And I'm talking a test, but that was just a test, right? They already announced it. It was on the World Economic Forum's website that it was a test. The whole thing was a test. And now they know what the participation level is going to be based on what it was in 2020, and now they're going to roll out some new stuff too, and it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. We knew that it was coming even back then. We knew that wasn't the only thing, but absolutely, it's coming again.
And trade tariffs. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brother Joe.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just. You go ahead.
He pointing to you. Go ahead.
Okay. So, thanks. So, I had just recently saw something about that, and it's like, I don't know. It seems to me almost as if most of the people who would actually fall for it this time have already lined up and done the thing and probably won't be around for the next one, unless them croaking is what causes the justification for the next one. I don't know. I really don't know as far as all that goes. I think there's fewer people that are going to fall for it this time than there was before. But because, I mean, it was so clearly and obviously a scam, maybe not in the very beginning, but once you got far enough into it, everything was making zero sense. I don't know, but I don't know. I would not have believed before that happened that so many people would have believed it. I thought that people were smarter than that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Between the economy right now with tariffs and inflation and everything else, if you have a massive exodus of the population being off the roster by unalived, that will crash economies because you need people to go to work. And if you don't have people going to work, you don't have a product. If you don't have people to buy a product, you don't have a working economy. And a gross domestic product can go down very quickly. I mean, there's a lot of bad So a lot of bad things that could happen in this systematic chain of events very soon. I mean, there's lots of ways they could configure it. But the thing that's really sketchy is if you look at the population density by state and by nationality and by country in the years ahead, especially what they have marked for this year, there is a massive drop in population across the world. And I just find it interesting also that like I was going to go pray over the Georgia Guidestones for their destruction, and like 2 weeks later, before I went to go see it, somebody blew them all to smoke. And I think the reason those got removed was right before they got removed, they told the story of what was to come, is population down to 500 million. And very soon, I mean, you're going to be really close in numbers on that if the statistics play out that they're saying, because they said that a report come out the other day, and that people that will just say participated in a certain activity, that their lifespan has now been shortened by up to 30%. So a person that would live to be 80 years old might exit stage left at 50 now, or 45. And if they're older, they're more susceptible to exit the stage even sooner. So, I mean, you know, how many years does that require to wipe people off the map? I mean, it didn't take many for a lot of them. I mean, look at athletes that were young and healthy in their 20s, and 3 years later, where are they at? You know, so.
You know, the only thing I can think on that, because if you look at the actual numbers of what they say is how many people participated in that, it's staggering, right?
Yeah.
I got stats for you.
Yeah, I can only hope that they inflated those in order to convince more people to participate. You know what I'm saying?
I hope you're right on that, Joel,
know.
because I've looked at them and it is depressing. 72% is a big number. Like, that's a really big number, bro.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It was like 70.6 from some sources. And then they said 67% of those that took the extra stuff as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, but when you look at it from a massive totality perspective, there's still a lot of people that decided not to participate. You know, 28 to 30% of people is a lot of people when you look at it on a global scale. And so it's almost like, all right, we got a lot of y'all. It's like, think about when you're cleaning and you're sweeping the floor and you get majority of what you got majority of the floor, and you got your 2 piles, right? You sweeping it up, but then you look around the edge of like the baseboards and the corners, and then you go back and you try to, because it's just bothering you. You got to get all of that in to make sure you clean the whole floor. It's kind of like that. You know, yes, you know, anywhere from 68 to 72%, that's a good amount, a significant amount of the population, but it's not everybody. And as Brother Lucas had said when he was talking about the said monument that was out there that isn't there no more, you know, it said that it's trying to get, you know, the population to less than, you know,
maintain 500 million.
500 mil, right? When you look at it just in today's terms of global population, that's 95, almost 96% of the population. So there's still about another 20% to go to get to that. So that's why I'm not surprised if some more shenanigans come out, right? We got most of you. We got you. What's the little Dave Chappelle? He's like, gotcha. But it's still more people to get got. But it's all of this is just really important to and thank you, Sister Tess, for those questions. But all of this is important to consider, like Seven Trumpets Prepper said, in regards to prepping and getting ready and understanding that, you know, the days that we're living in, the times that we're living in, the things that's going on around us, the Euphrates is drying up. We're getting all types of signs. World War III getting ready to pop off, and you know the dollar is going down the drain, and so many things is just happening at the same time. It's important to not only be prepared individually, but also be, looking and being open to reaching out to other like-minded individuals like yourself who is also prepping, because we say this all the time. If you prep, you got all your ammo, all your water, all your food, all your batteries and supplies, and you're good to go and you're squared away. So if things popped off tomorrow, you would be okay. But after that initial blast and that initial conflict, and then things get quiet and then there's chaos, people are going to start looting. People are going to band together, and it's going to be just like The Walking Dead. Remember Negan from The Walking Dead? Yes, it's going to be like that. And you might have been smart and got out of the city and went over to the country, because the city is going to be the first places that gets ransacked. But guess where the next area is going to be? They're going to come out to where you are. And if you're not prepared and you don't have the numbers backing you, you've basically stockpiled all of these food, ammo, and supplies and water
for someone else to take.
Yep. Right? And so it's important that we band together and we create these types of communities that are on the same page. We're aware of the times. And one of these communities is one that I founded, the Unity and Survival Coalition. Like, I always say this when we have these type of gatherings and fellowships and presentations, because it's important to talk about, whether it's my organization or whether it's other organization, we all need to support one another. But if that is something that interests you, please email us. Ask the question. Thank you. Ask the question. Reach out to us, because we are trying to put things together, get things set apart, to get back and live on the Father's time first and foremost, but also keeping the law, statutes, and commandments outside of the influence of the bodily governmental system and all of that, and prepare for what's coming, because we know the tribulation is coming. So I wanted to play this real quick. And if this is something that interests you, again, like I said, email us down at the bottom and we'll get back to you. So like I said, reach out if you need anything. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Professor S, did you have any last comments you wanted to make to the people?
No, I don't believe so. Definitely it is. Well, yeah, I do. Definitely it is important to have people that you're aligning with, and it's no joke. I mean, it's no joke when all this really starts happening. It's not going to be like, oh, now I can go find someone. It's you've got to already have those relationships and that trust established. You know what I mean? So yeah, very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
It all ain't gonna matter. It ain't gonna matter here in the end anyway. All these material things, I just wrote everything off, because you ain't gonna take it with you to the new kingdom anyway. Like, I literally have scrapped everything down to clean your soul, don't die in an unrighteous state, and just make it in the door. If I got eternal life, I can build me a new house. If I got eternal life, I can figure out how to grow a garden. I can do anything I need to, as long as I have my soul as a prize. So, that needs to be everybody's mindset right now. Like, forget about your 401k, forget about, retirement, forget about all these things. Like, if you can live each day and do a little more for your future, that's great. But there needs to be that mindset that if the world fell apart tomorrow, am I ready for what's coming? And that really needs to be at the forefront of people's thoughts process.
Absolutely. Well, Brother Lucas, I want to thank you again for an amazing presentation. That information was invaluable, brother. It was amazing. It was amazing. I really, really thank you for that. You brought up a lot of good points. If you watched and listened tonight, and you don't if you're not at least asking yourself one question, then I don't know where you've been at. This hour and 39 minutes has been jam-packed with good information. So thank you for being on here. Everybody from your platform, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. to the video. Everyone on Truth Talk Radio's platform, on our side of the house, thank you guys for coming in, tuning in. Thanks for all the questions. I'm gonna leave the floor to Seven Trumpets Prepper, man, and let him take us on up out of here. Your final words, brother.
All right. Well, as always, love both you guys. Y'all family to me. And as far as things go, guys, just stay vigilant, stay prepared. And as I've really started trying to say at the end of all these videos, that just remember that the kingdom is the goalpost. You know, the new kingdom is what it's all about. As things get darker, that needs to be the thing that's shining the brightest, because that's the ultimate prize. If you got sin, stumbling blocks, things in our lives, we really need to be taking these hours and slow down and focus on getting that sin out of our life and really perfecting our character, because the time of trial and trouble and testing is ahead of us very soon. So guys, as always, until we see you again here at Seven Trumpets Prepper channel and on Truth Talk Radio, hope the Most High Yah Baruch can keep you, make his face shine upon you, show you favor, and give you shalom, my friends, in Yahushua name.
Shalom, everybody.
Taught to be competitive since a toddler, but everything vanity that's not about Abba. It's a testimony, a lyrical confession on the road to arrogance. I had to change my direction. I had to kill that old me and change how I was living. I killed my own goat. Solemn greatness is given by the Most High.
Y'all know what it is. I'm a straight goat killer. Harambe with the flow. I'm a straight gorilla. Who flow sicker? Ghost compared to me, a slow simmer, but my bars is hotter than what awaits a low sinner. That mountain in my way, I moved it. Who the best in Israel? It's not close, cause my discography proved it. Not even at my peak, my lyrics bring elevation when I spit. I can hear the seals of revelation get broken, evoking the destruction of what was spoken in times past. Now that the lyrical book is open, boss from the creator, it's a God peeing actually. Flex the muscle, if I don't use it, it'll atrophy. At a fight of masses, you can get the facts from me. Apostle to the lost, you can get the axe from me. I used to have bodies, never took contracts for free. As a result, all these goats got the axe from me. Greatness is a marathon, it's not a sprint. I had to kill my ego fully and then repent. I wanted gold status, did everything to chase it. Every fear and doubt I had.